Okay everyone, you know what time of year it is, and that means it's time for me to introduce another year of my Halloween Scarlet poster. You know, considering the fact that Halloween is actually my least favorite holiday, I find it ironic that this is the holiday I have a traditional yearly drawing for. But anyways, this year I'm drawing my 5th Halloween poster. This is actually my 6th year doing this tradition, but I skipped like 2021 or something. Or maybe 22, I honestly don't remember. And this year, I felt like it was time to get back to my roots with the OG Scarlet poster. Over time, I've done several versions. First, a redraw of the pose and the setting, at night instead of at sunset. Then a redraw of the scene from the graphic novel, using the same colors but a different pose. And finally, in a complete tonal 180, my poster from last Halloween is this image of her lounging on her skywing throne. Over the years, I've documented each of these drawings and the thought process that goes into each of them. Honestly, at this point, I ought to just make a playlist because I've got enough of them. And I have to say, as many times as I've done a piece featuring Scarlet, I think I always end up liking the original poster better. Despite the quality of the drawing, there's just something perfect about the posing and all those beautiful sunset reds. So finally, after all this time, I am doing a faithful redraw of the original piece. Scarlet in the original pose with the exact same background at the exact same time. And I have to say, guys, for the first time, I think this poster is my new favorite. It just turned out so perfect. I want to hang it on my wall. I want to stare at it for hours. The colors are immaculate. Anyways, let's get into it. I'm going to talk through my design choices while the speed paint plays in the background, starting with Scarlet herself. So I will say, while this pose is 100% faithful to the original drawing, even down to the closed wings, I did change one small feature here. I switched her back legs. In the original, both of her right legs are off the ground, so it was a pretty glaring anatomical issue, but other than that, despite the occasional urge to change it up, I managed to perfectly recreate Scarlet's original pose. In my second redraw of this poster, the one that I did in 2020, I did the same pose with a different background, basically, but I did change that pose and have her wings open, and I almost wanted to do that here too, but I decided to stick with being faithful to the original, and I went with closed wings. Throughout this video, you're going to hear me talk a lot about a perfect replica, and why does this matter so much to me? Well, I've redrawn this poster plenty of times over the years, and while it's great to see my technique and style improve every year, I've never had a perfect side-by-side to truly compare my art now with my art years ago. That's one reason I wanted the setup to be identical. I want the only difference to be my skill level, so I can really see the changes and appreciate the difference. But also, like I mentioned earlier, I just really truly have always loved the original poster best. So that's what I wanted to draw here. I got Scarlet roughed out and then sketched like half of her before I got too excited and dove into the line art. Usually I try to sketch the entire drawing at least once before doing line art, but I've done this pose several times before, and I sketched everything but the tail and some of the easier stuff, so I skipped that step. Really, the most vital section in most of my sketch phases is the head, neck, and shoulders, so once I had that ironed out, everything else was easier. After doing the line art, I actually switched gears and started working on my background. This is something I've started doing with my bigger, complicated scene pieces. Once I get the line art done, or even a good sketch, my tendency is to go to the background next. Why? Because I'm the type of person who likes to get hard stuff done first and save the easiest parts for last. For me, backgrounds are the toughest part of a drawing, and they require a lot more thinking and learning and experimentation than the dragons. I love a challenge, don't get me wrong, but I also prefer to get it over with. Plus, rarely I have to redraw a dragon when my background just isn't working properly. This happened with this piece I did of Winter and Keebly on the beach with Lynx. I redrew her partway into that process, and boy would I have been frustrated if I'd had to do that after doing her line art. So I worked from the front back, basically, and got the cliff she's standing on done. I wanted to give it more character and shape this year, so I added some rocks and pebbles, and some smaller cliffs jutting out below hers. The first cliff is literally just a lineless, three-sided weird hunk of gradient, so that was definitely an area in need of serious improvement. Next came the towers, another feature of the original poster that had been reduced to these ambiguous shapes. I was kind of going for a spooky feel here, and also 2019 me would have never in 1,000 years attempted to draw actual architecture, so that was another area where a lot could change. I actually drew 5 separate towers and then just copy-pasted them around to fill out the background. Also, side note, since I had the drawings, I went ahead and added some more custom brushes to my set, this time of towers. So next time I'm doing a big scene drawing and I need a quick tower, I'll have some options. Anyways, some of the towers look a little samey, but I didn't want anything to stand out too much in the background, and I also didn't want to spend like 2 hours drawing architecture, so this was a happy middle ground for me. I think the background took like 2 hours total, something like that. These towers were a solid chunk of that. I love the way they turned out though. They really add to the scale of the piece, making Scarlet seem both small in comparison to the vastness of her kingdom, but larger than life thanks to her position in relation to the city. And finally, the best part of the background, the sunset. This took a long time too, though a lot of it was just me throwing things at the wall and seeing what stuck. I had looked through Google to find a picture of a sunset with the colors I wanted, and I just kind of color picked from that until I felt I had the shades I wanted. Originally, I meant to do a red-orange sunset, more like the original, but those pinks and purples snuck in there too, and I am so glad they did. All that purple just looks incredible in the final image, and it really helps widen the hue variety of the piece, since Scarlet is already red and orange herself. The sun too was a bit of an afterthought, but I love how it looks peeking through the towers, and it lets me add some rays of light to really make everything pop. For sunsets like this, I do my clouds first, and you can kind of see that process here. I rough out the general shapes and then bucket fill them before going around the edges with a smaller brush to give them some definition. Then I go again and add another layer of clouds along the underside of each of my first layer of clouds, if that makes sense. The first layer gets darker colors and the second gets lighter colors. This gives the idea that the clouds have dimension because they have shadows in the back and highlights in the front. I added some more touches, mostly just playing around with colors and brushes and seeing what I liked. I did little white speckles closer to the horizon, which is a darker purple to kind of show stars just beginning to peek out. The final touches on a background make the most difference in my experience. I used my dragon brush to add some miscellaneous dragons around the towers and in the sun, and I added some finishing touches to a few of the towers to help them stand out from each other just a little bit. I wanted the towers to have some uniqueness, but I also didn't want them to steal attention from Scarlet herself, so I had a fine line to tread there. Less was really more in this case. I had to really cut myself on what I added. I did add some banners though, and some dragon perches on a few of the towers, and these types of final touches and little details really help bring a piece together and make it feel more lifelike, even with a more cartoony style like mine. And finally, I finished up Scarlet, colored her in, got her shaded, and added her jewelry. I always have so much fun with the jewelry. Like, I really wanted to do it first thing in this piece, but I made myself save it for last, like a neat little treat for finishing the piece. In the original, her crown was an actual gold crown, but I liked the floating white crown of the second redraw much better, so I added that here because it just fits the vibes right for this piece. After getting all that done, I went over the piece for anything I missed, like shading the rocks and the towers, and I signed it, and here's the final piece. Overall, the colors in this piece have to be my favorite part. The sunset with a bright sun and the yellow, fading into the maroon purple and finally indigo, really ties into Scarlet's colors, but there are just so many hues in this piece, and it's a treat to look at just for the colors alone. Also, my detail work this go around was much, much better. Looking at these side by side, it is unbelievably satisfying to see how much my art has improved over the last 6 years. I feel like this is the perfect piece to showcase all the things I've learned, like posing, line weight, jewelry, shading and lighting, backgrounds, and color use. Seeing this piece next to the old one is just a great reminder that everyone comes from the same place learning art, and with enough practice and time, everyone can always improve. So, which of the 5 Scarlet posters is your favorite? Like I said, this is the first year that my answer is anything other than 2019, but I'm interested to hear y'all's thoughts. If you enjoyed this video, there's several others talking about the process of a Halloween poster you can see. Be sure to check out the links in the description too if you're interested in seeing more of my art on DeviantArt or buying merch from my store. Thank you so much for watching, and have a blessed week.